Dalek Mod is the most popular Doctor Who Minecraft mod of all time. However, it was made over a decade ago now, and although it's had hundreds of updates since then that have added thousands of features, many new Doctor Who mods have popped up, especially within the last couple of years, that are made for newer versions of Minecraft with bigger, more unique features. So hello Fezwearers, today I want to answer the question, is Dalek Mod still good in 2025? One very obvious way to measure how good, or in other words, how enjoyable a mod like this is just by playing it. So I started a fresh survival world in the 1.16 version, which also gave me the opportunity to get to know the mod a bit better, because when I started this world, I knew basically nothing about this mod. The ultimate goal I set myself to achieve in this world was to get a TARDIS, because it's had a bunch of updates recently that I've never had the chance to use, and it just takes a stupid amount of time to get one, especially if you kept dying like I may or may not have done, so it's a good excuse to explore the mod a bit more, while having a specific end goal to achieve. But it turns out the start of this world was almost exactly the same as a normal world. I just looted a village, went exploring and went mining for some basic gear. I went into this world pretty blind, but from what I did know, I knew I'd had to get some good armor and good tools to get anywhere close to getting a TARDIS, and doing whatever else happens along the way. So I went mining for quite a long time, and while I do that, I think I should probably give some more context and explain the history of this mod a bit, give you the bigger picture about the story of this mod. But also, this is my first time ever making a video like this, and it's taken me 2 months to make and nearly 500 gigabytes of footage. So if you do enjoy, please do consider subscribing. It lets me know that I can do more videos like this in the future because I had so much fun making this. Anyway, Dalek Mod first released on the 30th of October 2012, which is nearly 13 years ago. And to put that into perspective, one of the most well-known mods ever, the Ether mod, released just 1 year before this. So this is like proper OG. And Google Trends is a website that allows you to see how much something is searched for on Google over time. And using it, we can see generally how popular Dalek Mod has been throughout its entire life. As you can see, at the end of 2012 when it was first announced, it had a bit of a bump, but then in 2013 it just blew up with this massive spike throughout the entire year. This is likely due to the massive 50th anniversary hype during this time, because if I look at Doctor Who's graph itself, you can see its biggest spike by far is in 2013, specifically November when the 50th came out. From a quick YouTube search, you can see it's so popular that TARDIM reviewed it almost instantly after its release back in January 2013, and I guess he liked it so much he had to do it again in August 2013, which got 5.7 million views. Nothing Doctor Who related gets those views anymore. It was the prime of Minecraft and the prime of Doctor Who, so this mod really couldn't have been made at a better time. I just chose TARDIM as an example, but so many people not only made and watched videos on this, but so many people actually went out of their way to play it back when it first came out. I would have played it, but I was stuck on my PS3 edition, so I had to sit this one out. But after its big peak in the end of 2013, while at the start of 2014 it started going down a bit, still very popular, but clearly not as popular as it was. But then by mid 2014, specifically August, it reached its biggest peak it will ever reach, which I can't find a specific reason for, but there were many frequent updates around this time, and general hype surrounding this mod was at an all-time high. But since then it's gotten less and less popular throughout every single year, and as you can see by early 2019 it had completely tanked, with March being the lowest it will ever get. But there are a few things to remember here, because this graph is about Google searches, not actual downloads, so it doesn't necessarily correlate, but let's be honest, that is quite a big link. But also this graph is just relative to itself, which means the absolute crazy heights of 2013 and 2014 kind of skew the rest of the graph to look even worse than it is, with the searches in March 2019 being 20 times less than in August or 2014. However, as you can see, by 2020 it starts to climb again, which obviously is because of a certain disease forcing people to stay inside for months upon months. Although if you look closely, you can see the climb does actually start in late 2019, around July-August time, which is before any COVID and any lockdowns happened. But I'll get back to that in a second because I just finished my mining session. I'd been mining for about an hour, and whilst I was down there I found a zombie spawner, which will be very important later on, but I basically just got as many tools and armor as possible while not being in the mines for the whole video really, because I am not Steve, I do not yearn for the mines, I hate them very much. So I managed to get some decent gear with enough spare resources where I could stay out the caves for a while. I set up camp on some random mountain, encountered and killed my first Dalek of many, then went out to get some sugarcane and leather so I could eventually make an enchantment table, because again, just to re-emphasize, I need some proper good armor to survive this mod, because I'm not the best Minecraft player in the world. But once I'd done that, I came back and I actually managed to craft a few materials for the TARDIS. To get a TARDIS, you need to craft a coral plant, which will then grow into the TARDIS. But to get that, you need 5 objects. But to get them, you need to get even more materials, including diamonds, modded items like redstone circuits, end crystals, and even a Nether Star. However, a surprising amount of the stuff you need can actually be made with pretty simple materials quite early on. I also made this thing called an Archon fuel tank, which very slowly fills up to 100%, where you can collect it into a bottle portal and then use it, and I needed to do this 9 times, so I'm glad I set it up quite early. And while I was doing that, I found some other modded items, with the most standout one being the fez, which I made as quickly as possible because that's like my thing, I can't not make it. But it ended up looking really bad on my skin because it already had the fez on it. It just looked a bit odd, I don't know how to describe it, it just looked awful. So I just didn't end up wearing it again till I got the TARDIS. And I went exploring a little bit and found what I think is a fallen meteor, which had some Sonic Ore stuff in it, which I had no idea even existed, but thankfully I had it because I would need it later on. I also found a lava lake which I used to make a nether portal, but I didn't actually end up going to the nether for quite a bit because I had some distinct memories of the nether in this mod being a terrifying place. Granted, these memories of when I was about 10, but it still was on my mind and terrified me. And by this point I started doing literally anything I could to procrastinate going to the nether. I made some more TARDIS materials, almost died once, actually died once. I found another meteor, I made an enchantment table, and a sugarcane farm, but maybe the most important thing is that I've stumbled into this. Until this point, I had no idea this mod even had structures, let alone a Dalek ship which just hovers in the air, and I rightfully assumed there'd be some Daleks in it. So right then and there, I decided that after I'd gotten my TARDIS, I would use it to infiltrate this Dalek ship and just defeat whatever inside. But for now, I made a refined Dalekadium mace. No, not that mace. As well as making some steel armor. And the fun fact about this armor is that it's really easy to make, it's just smelted iron, but it has the same durability as full diamond, as well as having knockback resistance much like netherite. However, something I didn't quite realize at the time is just how bad the durability was. But that wouldn't be an issue until much later on, so I was very excited. So I dedicated all my time to getting an enchantment table so I could enchant all this new armor I just gotten, and then I could go to the nether. And along the way I also crafted some more TARDIS parts. I also found some Cybermen and Cyberheads which I managed to kill, went mining some more, and basically did absolutely anything I could to procrastinate going to the nether. So after a considerable amount of hours, I finally made the enchanting area, but then realized I had nowhere near enough levels and no easy way to get any more. So I used that zombie spawner from earlier to make a subpar XP farm, which turned out to be just another excuse to delay going to the nether. But in the end I managed to get a bunch of XP, enchanted, got more XP, enchanted, and then repeated that for several hours. However, during this time I was slowly realizing that A, I couldn't delay going to the nether for much longer, and B, I hadn't actually done much that was very interesting in this world, and it was looking like it was going to be a really boring video. But for better or for worse, later on, quite a lot of stuff started to happen in this world, one after the other after the other. But for now I was just peacefully enchanting all my things. And then the piece just ended because out of nowhere, my enchanting table just blew up. I still have zero idea why this happened. I was just enchanting my mace and then boom. I assumed it was like a Dalek or something, but there was literally nothing around me. So it must be some weird feature of the mod or something, I still have no idea. But things let me jump very easily, so this happening to me at 3 AM in the morning was not fun. Oh my god. What the hell was that? But it did give me just another reason to not go to the nether, because I had to rebuild all the bone up stuff and then keep enchanting. And to be fair, I got some pretty good enchants like Fire Protection 4, which is really useful for literal hell. I also got Pot 3 and Thorns 2 for my chest plate, which is not too bad. But best of all, I got Looting 3, which is the main thing I was looking for, seeing the whole reason I even need to go to the nether is to get 3 Wither Skulls, because I need a Wither Star for the TARDIS. And God knows how I was going to do that without looting, so that was very, very good. I also got Smite 5, which seems really good on paper, because Wither Skeletons, the main mob I'm going to be killing, is dealt the most damage with Smite 5. But I don't really think about all the other mobs I had to fight, especially the Daleks. So yeah, that kind of screwed me over in the end. But for now, I was feeling great, and with a surprising lack of plans or any materials, I just decided, you know what, yeah, and then I just went to the nether. But then immediately after spawning in some weird cave, mining out of it, I got freaked out because of a weeping angel, tried to run away, got lost, eventually found the portal, and then just went back to the overworld. So all in all, I managed to spend about 5 minutes in the nether before running home in fear. But to be fair, I did end up going right back, and then stumbled upon another weeping angel up close this time, and then I did some tinkering and found out we literally couldn't kill it, which I guess was to be expected. But it also just didn't move for some reason. Its arms moved a bit, but it just stayed in the same block. So I don't know what was happening there, but it gave me an unnecessary confidence boost, which would end up being a really, really bad thing. However, as you probably expect, most of my time in the nether for now was just aimlessly looking for a fortress, because again, the only reason I'm putting myself through this is to get 3 Wither Skulls, so a fortress, ideally one in the Soul Sand Valley, is all I wanted. So while I'm doing that, let me remind you that in the late 2010s, the Dalek mod reached a new low in popularity. As I said before, the crazy success of this mod in the early days was partially due to some very good timing of Doctor Who, Minecraft YouTube, and Minecraft mods being at an all-time high. Well, this is sort of the reverse of that. Doctor Who had begun to slow down during the end of Capaldi era, with literally no Doctor Who in 2016, and if I put up the Doctor Who graph, you can see all of 2016 is just a flat line, nothing going on. But it does then pick up again at the end of the Moffat era, as well as the introduction of the first female Doctor, but I can't say this really translated for Dalek Mod too much. As well as that, during this time, Minecraft was also pretty much completely dead, which in turn gave this mod a recipe for the disaster. And unfortunately, there wasn't too much anyone could do about it. There were still decently frequent and big updates, but they just had to sit down and wait for this load to pass. And pass it did, because this small bump in July 2019 is the beginning of the revival. I believe this influx of searches is from the mod's 50th update, seeing the video announcing this monumental moment has over 100,000 views, which is 20 times more views than the video just before it. And just for the record, it's the third most viewed video on their entire channel, with the second most viewed being update 56 from later in 2020, but I'll get to that. For now, the mod began to have a little resurgence again. Nothing too crazy, just about the same as 2017, pretty much. But as well as that, Minecraft and Doctor Who, okay, not quite Doctor Who yet, but funnily enough, this is actually around the time that I started getting really into Doctor Who again. But yeah, Minecraft really started to have a revival around this point, which very likely helped with this. As well as that, after the 50th update, they released another pretty big update that allowed for an actual bigger on the inside effect, which got around 117,000 views across multiple videos. And I had no idea this feature even existed when I was recording the survival aspect of this video. But then the devs did an update literally a month later, where they released new features every single day during December for Christmas, which is a thing they now do every single year. So all of that big effort and push led to this very, very small bump. But I believe strongly that if this had not happened, this would never have happened, at least not to the same degree. For this next bit, I'm going to make the graph start in 2017, just so the stuff in 2014 doesn't skew it a bit too much, and you can see in more detail what I'm talking about. Because this is 2017, and this is the fall, and this is the low of 2019. This is the peak I was just talking about, which paved the way for... However, whilst I was trying to find the fortress, in some sick irony, I said this. I really thought there would be Daleks in it. I'm glad there isn't, but... And then immediately found a Special Weapons Dalek. However, I managed to kill it quite easily using his own weapon. And then 1 minute later, I stumbled upon another Dalek. This time, a normal one. So logically, it's easier to fight than the Special Weapons one, which I managed to kill effortlessly, right? Well, for some stupid reason, I just happily walked right up to it. And little did I know, this stupid little idiot doesn't shoot a normal laser, or maybe some fire similar in the Nether. No, it just sprays you with lethal poison that kills you in like 4 seconds. No armor or protection can stop it. So yeah, it's safe to say I lost that battle quite heavily, and I was not happy in the slightest. But I didn't give up all hope. I got a few spare tools and armor and went to get my stuff. I was trying to do this as fast as possible because I only had a rough idea of where it was, and it could very easily despawn or get destroyed by a ghast or something. So the plan was to run to my stuff and then book it for a fortress and hopefully not die anymore. But finding my stuff was easier said than done. It took me around 10 minutes to even realize which direction I needed to go in. And then on the way, I saw even more Daleks, my pick broke, I got lost again, and it was just a bit of a disaster. In retrospect, I have no idea why I didn't just look at the recording. It would have been much faster and prevented what's about to happen. Because eventually I did find my stuff. Well, I saw it from a distance with a skeleton guarding it, so I chugged a gapple, and by the time I'd actually gone up to it, it was all completely gone. I must have had it loaded for exactly 5 minutes, and I was about 10 seconds too late, which really bummed me out, because all that stuff I'd worked so hard for, the looting mace, all my tools and armor, the food, the enchants, it was all gone just like that. I really just could not be bothered to go and work so many hours just to get all that stuff back, and then just end up losing all again in the Nether. So I did the logical thing in this situation, and jumped in the lava and rage quit. If I just didn't walk into that Dalek without a care in the world, or maybe just find my stuff literally 10 seconds quicker, this disaster could have been so easily prevented. And because of this, I didn't touch this world or Minecraft in general for over a week. But when I did come back, I tried my hardest to get out of this low, and eventually I was quite successful. And in 2020, Dalek Mod had a similar fate, because it got out of a new low, and it was skyrocketing. Because as you can see, since January 2017, the biggest peak this mod has ever had in Google searches is from April 2020, the height of lockdown. Maybe if you press like, this video go as viral as COVID did. Is that bad to say? It probably is, isn't it? But during this time, pretty much everything associated with this mod, Minecraft, YouTube, mods, everything were just skyrocketing. Unfortunately, Doctor Who didn't have much of an influx, but the fans that were still around stuck around, and they interacted with Doctor Who on the internet, for better or for worse, a lot, which culminated in Dalek Mod being at its biggest peak since 2016. And the mod creators capitalized on this by releasing many updates during this time, including the one I mentioned earlier, Update 56, which became their second most popular video ever with 116,000 views. And guess when it came out? April, which pretty much confirms my theory that the pandemic alone isn't what made it popular again, but the combination of the pandemic, as well as Dalek Mod being an actual good mod with regular updates and a really good development tournament team. So this was a very good opportunity, and possibly the last chance for Dalek Mod to regain some of his lost popularity and keep it. And for a little bit, it did. Yes, its big peak did die out pretty quickly, but it was decently popular again, and consistently too, because all of 2020 and 2021, it was regularly doing better than it had done since 2016-2017 time. And with constant updates and a lot of content, it seemed like it was back, and had successfully revived itself from the dead, and that maybe, just maybe, it could be bigger than it was before, especially with Minecraft and even Doctor Who now being popular again. However, as 2022 came rolling around, COVID was a thing of the past, which meant a random Minecraft Doctor Who mod some people started playing while they were stuck at home just wasn't too appealing. It did okay, it was pretty much really consistent throughout the year, and doing just about the same numbers as 2017 on average, but by 2023 it was much less consistent, which is a sign that has only really been searched for when updates happen, rather than always just being searched for because people want to play it. The peaks in 2023 and 2024 pretty much all correlate with something to do with Doctor Who, because a new era was in full swing and people were loving it, for the most part. The 6th year special was released in November or December, which is this big peak, as well as there being a Christmas special that year for the first time in ages, and then there was all of season 1, and then another Christmas special. So this being the biggest interest Doctor Who has had since 2018, and with Minecraft being really popular again, it should have, in theory, made Dalek Mod really popular again. But that's why it's just a theory, because you can see all these big spikes where big Doctor Who stuff is happening, but that's all they are, spikes. It's not a consistent flow of searches, and it meant when Doctor Who was running dry a bit, like the end of 2024, Dalek Mod completely tanked again, with August of 2024 being the lowest it's been ever. But you have to realise this isn't the only Doctor Who mod out there, and in the past few years, many new Doctor Who mods have been made for Minecraft, and a lot of them are really good. So this trend of it going completely downwards and downwards isn't consistent across them all, but I'll have to come back to that, because a week after my death and rage quit, I finally logged back onto the survival world, and it was my last ditch effort to actually do this. All of my gear, tools, armor, food, enchants and more were all snapped out of existence, and any spare gear I had was all burnt in lava, which maybe wasn't a great idea in retrospect, but I couldn't do anything about it now. I logged in and immediately got back to work. I scraped some gear together and then went mining. After that, I made a few more Archon fuel tanks as I realised I would need them. I also then started killing some more Daleks so I can make a battle axe, because after searching around a bit, I realised it was much better than the mace, but it does cost 5 Dalek alien ingots instead of 4, so while I was getting them, I decided I could actually make a house, as well as continuing to get my tools and armour and things, which mainly consisted of me getting XP, enchanting, getting XP, enchanting, getting XP, enchanting, getting XP, enchanting, getting XP, enchant. And then during this time I did then make the battle axe, as well as finding a new food called Dalek bread, getting my first couple Archon bottles, but then the main thing being building the house. I was looking through some of the stuff this mod has, and I found a thing called the Kerblam computer. This is a block that allows you to buy things with XP, and it gets instantly delivered to you by a Kerblam man, which is of course a reference to the series 11 episode Kerblam. As soon as I saw this, I knew I needed it, but it turns out part of the crafting recipe required glowstone, which could only be found in the Nether, and although I was traumatized, I actually did do it. Luckily there was some in that little cave my portal was in, so I didn't have to travel very far, but this was the first step in me overcoming my fear of the Nether. If I'm honest, I was expecting a few more things to be available in this shop, but I still did end up using it to buy a bunch of this grey plastic block for the floor of the house, and I would later use it to buy a bunch of food as well. And I was really happy with how the house was going, but I just couldn't get the roof right. I eventually went with a style you're probably familiar with, which basically just uses stairs to make a triangle shape, but I wanted the frame of it to be spruce, and then the inside to be dark oak. However, the problem was I hadn't found a dark oak forest yet, and I didn't really have the time to go exploring for one, so I decided to wait until I had the TARDIS to finish the roof, because I could find one very easily with one of those. As well as building some more, I did some more enchanting, did some more mining, so I could do some more enchanting, then did some more XP grinding, so I could do more enchanting. As you can tell, I like to enchant quite a lot. And after all this enchanting, I felt like I had a pretty decent set of gear, and I felt like I knew enough to get myself around this mod. So on a bit of a whim, I just decided to go to the Nether and get the skulls. And if this went south, I would likely have just scrapped this video and given up entirely. So luckily it didn't go too bad. I went in the same direction as I did before, and actually spotted a fortress quite quickly, within about 5 minutes. And it was all going very well. A bit too well. But of course, out of nowhere, something disastrous happened. I was extremely convinced this was going to mean another death, and to be fair, I was on 2.5 hearts, and there was this massive drop with fire underneath me. So I just stayed in this pause menu for quite a while, conflicting on whether to leave and just give up, or experience the death. Fortunately, I did continue, and because I had feather falling on my boots, this happened. And that wasn't sped up. I don't know why I fell so fast, but yes, I survived, with only half a heart too. So I gathered my bearings a bit, and about 3 minutes later, while I was fighting a ghast, this happened. I don't want to hit one of them by accident. No! No! As soon as I said, luckily I'd managed to build up and they all started falling off the edge, and then I ran away. And then the luck continued because right around the corner the fortress was there. But as soon as I entered it, a Dalek poisoned me. But I wasn't gonna let myself die to this stupid idiot again. So I hid away like a coward and managed to kill it through the wall, which luckily worked out to be okay. These were quite a few stupid moments that I managed to survive out of pure luck, but it seems that luck was running out because by this point I was killing many wizard skeletons, with looting 3 by the way, for an hour and a half, just doing that, and I only got 1 skull, which is extremely unlucky. And as soon as I got the skull, I went straight back home just in case it ended up dying or something. And while I was there, I decided to do a bit more on the house, putting the chests indoors, accidentally flooding the basement, making even more Archon fuel tanks, and then exploring the Kerblam computer a bit more. And then I saw that you could actually buy K9, so of course I did, but it was kind of useless and didn't really do anything. So instead I made a sonic screwdriver, but then I never even used it. But then I actually got some more food and headed to the Nether. This time I wasn't going to leave unless I got both the skulls, which took a very long time. And while I'm doing that, I need to actually address the topic of this video some more. This video is all about whether this mod is still good and whether it's still enjoyable. The reason I'm even doing this survival stuff is just to see what the survival aspect is like.
Really?
And the reason I'm showing all the history of it and things is because realistically, the more popular something is, the more people enjoy it, especially for something like this. But it turns out that's not exactly really true, for the most part at least. I'll get to my personal opinions at the end, but I want to quickly mention some other Doctor Who mods, which are a bit more popular. So as of right now in February 2025, there are dozens, probably even hundreds of Doctor Who mods for Minecraft. But the vast majority of these, especially the ones on CurseForge, were made well after the Dalek mod, and quite a few are from 2018 or later. And getting more specific, 2 Doctor Who mods actually have more downloads than Dalek Mod, with 2.9 and even 3 million downloads, compared to Dalek Mod's 1 million. But if I'm honest, I have almost 0 personal experience with any of these other mods. But I know that these days they're like the bigger ones, the main Doctor Who Minecraft mods, especially the new TARDIS Mod, TARDIS Refined and Adventures in Time, as well as all these others. My point is, I don't want you or me to be blindsided by Dalek Mod, maybe because it's basically all you know like me, or maybe you just prefer it to the others, or literally anything. You just have to broaden your horizons a little bit, I think. And I'm going to do it as well, because I'm planning on making a mini series out of experiencing all these insanely popular mods for the first time. And if you do want to see me do that, let me know in the comments. But the fact that other mods exist shouldn't surprise you, and it shouldn't really impact how good or enjoyable Dalek Mod is. But I just think it's worth mentioning, especially because I make it sound like Minecraft Doctor Who mods are at the lowest point right now, because they just really aren't. In fact, it's a thriving community that will only grow from here. Also, it turns out the SWD team who make the Dalek Mod are currently working on updating the mod to the latest version of Minecraft 1.21, so I'll more than likely make a video on that in the future. Oh, there we go, 3 skulls. Yes! Right, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going, I'm leaving, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. Thank the Lord, I am done. So I got the skulls and immediately got to work gearing up for the wither fight, getting milk buckets to retract the withering effect, re-enchanting my weapons and armor, getting more food, digging the area to fight in, getting an army of dogs. Okay, it didn't really turn out to be an army. I could only find 1 dog, but this little guy did put up a good fight. Anyway, suffice to say, I was ready for this fight, and I was actually confident for once. So I set my spawn and decided it was time. So I spawned it in, and yeah, it was a bit anticlimactic. The fight lasted 80 seconds, which is a long time in some situations, but I spent about an hour preparing for this, and many hours getting the skulls, just for that. However, as soon as I picked up that Nether Star, I knew I was extremely close to getting the TARDIS. So I went straight back to my base, getting 2 more Archon bottles, leaving me with 8 out of 9, because I needed them to make this Archon cube block thing. But the issue here was, the next most filled Archon collector thing wasn't even at 50%, and it would take ages to get to 100. But then around a minute later, I realized I could have just saved hours of my life, because you can literally craft them, which I felt like an idiot for not checking before, but it's fine, because I've done it now, and I finally made the Archon block, and then I checked the crafting table, and finally, after weeks of effort, I could make the TARDIS core, and then the TARDIS plant. So with, admittedly, a bit of hesitation, I made the TARDIS plant, and planted it outside my house, and waited. A while. Refined. I'm trying to do something here. This was a big moment. It was the culmination of over a month's work, and I was genuinely very excited to try it out. When I right-clicked the now fully grown TARDIS, it came up with this screen. This allows you to customize the interior and exterior, which in of itself is so cool, because I was fully expecting to be stuck with the default like TT capsule and the First Doctor interior or something, but this allowed me to choose from not only every single interior from the show, including the current one and even the memory TARDIS, but also a bunch of custom interiors too, all for the cost of nothing. And then on top of that, I had about 4 different exterior types, 2 TT capsules and 2 police boxes. However, these exteriors also have dozens of skin options, which changes the design of them all. For instance, the police box exterior has 16 skins, which are all ones from the show and linked to the interior options. Obviously, I chose the 15th Doctor's interior and exterior, then it spat out a TARDIS key and said it was growing. It only took 30 seconds for it to grow, and then I spared no time and went straight into it, skipping the tutorial and then going straight into flight. I mean, I didn't exactly mean to take off, because I had no idea what I was doing or how to navigate it, but it ended up just taking me straight back to where I started, so it worked out okay. And then found out you can fly in third person, which allowed me to travel so fast it was insanely OP. But then I stumbled upon the Dalek ship again, and realised I actually had to go there very soon. I didn't know this at the time, but inside of that Dalek ship is pretty much a bunch of Dalek spawners in a tiny little room, with many different Daleks inside, including Special Weapons Daleks, Flamethrower Daleks, Laser Daleks, Slowness Daleks, and probably more I'm forgetting about, all in a really tight little space. So yeah, I think it's fair to say I would need to properly prepare and not just stumble on in there. But for now, I wanted to finally finish the roof, so I spent about 10 minutes looking for a dark oak forest, and if it wasn't for the TARDIS, that likely could have been hours and hours of work. So once I found one, I got a bunch of dark oak, and then actually finished the roof straight away without getting distracted. I then rearranged the inside a little bit, which officially completed the house. However, I kind of had no more excuses and started preparing for the Dalek ship fight by doing even more enchanting, of course. And instead of going to the zombie XP farm, I decided to get XP from nether quartz. And then this happened. Whoa. Luckily, I managed to get some of my stuff back, but unfortunately most of it burnt, so I had to end up doing even more unnecessary effort just to get back to where I was. But I pressed on, continuing to get more XP for about 20 minutes in the nether, and then I came back, got some new armor and tools, but I ended up not having quite enough resources to finish everything. But I wasn't going to go mining like a stupid commoner. Instead, I used my new TARDIS to explore its infinite world and find diamonds from structures like temples and villages and whatnot. But funnily enough, it turns out this is an absolutely terrible way of getting stuff, so I eventually caved in and went mining. And then I went XP grinding with the zombie farm this time, and after enchanting some more, obviously, I just very suddenly decided I was going to the Dalek ship. What happens on this ship will pretty much be the deciding factor on how much I enjoy this mod or not. Obviously, I haven't exactly explored all of the mod in this survival world, but I did set up a quick creative world afterwards, just to check out some things I hadn't had a chance to see, and I found some things I didn't know even existed. It had other dimensions like Gallifrey, but also older versions of Minecraft to simulate time travel, as well as a whole host of other stuff that I can't even begin to list. But I'll be honest, I don't think any of that would have really changed my opinion on this world, but I just thought I'd mention it in case you thought I forgot. During this world, I had some high points, a lot of low points, and even more boring points. And all that just kind of made it a bit of a mixed feeling of fun and hatred and whatnot. But what happens in this Dalek ship will be the last thing I do in this world. And no matter how it goes, it will heavily impact my perception of this playthrough and the mod really. So there's a lot of pressure here. So I got in my TARDIS and flew over to the Dalek ship, set my spawn point, broke a few blocks to peep inside and realised there's a spawner. Special Weapon Dalek spawner, Jesus Christ. I saw a spawner, a Special Weapons Dalek, and a Slowness Dalek, which made me kind of realise I would need to actually, like, try. But I was still under the impression that, oh, I can just go in there, kill a few Daleks, break a few spawners, and boom, I'm done. Oof, that is not how it turned out. By this point, I could hear a lot of Daleks underneath me, and was starting to fight a few of them with a bow from above, but I knew I couldn't keep doing this. But then a Special Weapons Dalek blasted me, which was terrifying. Is that Special Weapons? No, can't be. Oh my god, it is Special Weapons. Oh, sweet Jesus. But so far, every Dalek I saw, I managed to kill with pretty much no issue. And I thought that if I could conquer the ones in the nether, I could conquer these ones easily. So I just decided that they're going to keep spawning because of the spawners. I need to get rid of them. I'm just going to have to go in. Oh, Nelly. So I killed that guy and jumped in. But literally after 4 seconds in there, a Special Weapons Dalek shot me, causing a massive explosion, and me to go to half hearts. Then I heard it charging up for another shot. I knew I was stuck in this hole and it was going to shoot me easily. So it was kind of just like a death sentence. But I decided to enable replay mods so I could die cinematically, and die I did, but it wasn't very cinematic. Can't say I was very thrilled about this.
Oh, you little stupid little thing.
But I soldiered on, respawned right above it, found some Daleks who had flown out of the hole I made, and then they started spawn killing me. But the second time I managed to evade them, dropped back in, found my stuff, and then immediately got killed again. But I kept going, and then got killed again. However, I didn't give up. For around another 7 minutes, I kept going in, kept dying, kept going in, kept dying, until pretty much all my stuff, except for the few bits I managed to pick up and die with, had despawned. And then I rage quit. So yeah, it wasn't the best of times. It was a bit of a disaster. But I knew it wasn't going to go brilliantly, assuming I brought the bed. I was expecting to die at least once, but I didn't quite plan on it being that many times. But the real question is whether overall I had fun and enjoyed the survival world, which will let me answer whether Dalek Mod can still be good in 2025. I'll be honest, a lot happened in this world in not too much time. I think maybe I focused a bit too much on getting the TARDIS, especially at the start, to the point where I was a bit tunnel visioned, and every death set me back so much and it hit me really hard. But towards the end, mainly after I started distracting myself with the house and things, it felt much more fun and less serious. So the ending there didn't give me a massive negative impact. Yeah, I was still annoyed, but it was actually quite fun, so I didn't really care. So in short, I think Dalek Mod is frowned upon way too much nowadays, and it's got a very special place in my heart personally. Overall, I had a fantastic time in this world, and from all the research I did and stuff as well, I think this mod is unfairly hated. I really enjoy it, and it's better than it's ever been before. Of course, there's many other mods, but some people just forget you can literally play multiple mods, there's nothing stopping you. Without even experiencing maybe 50% of it for myself, I can confidently say that, even without all the nostalgia, if you approach it correctly, Dalek Mod can be really good even after 12 years.